he did that golf swing and pointed at someone like that one was for you, babe, enough, loudly crying face purple heart. There are some moments that only last a few seconds, yet somehow manage to make fans talk about them over and over again. One of those moments was when he casually did that golf swing and then pointed towards someone with an expression that seemed to say, "That one was for you, babe." Simple maybe. Just a golf swing and a little pointing gesture technically, yes. But the way he did it made everything feel so much more dramatic. There was something about the gesture that looked so confident, playful, and slightly teasing that fans immediately lost the ability to act normal. Before we could even process what had happened, his expression, body language, and the direction of his gesture were enough to send everyone into chaos. It felt like a tiny scene that was somehow created to leave a huge impression on everyone watching. And the biggest question is, how can someone do an ordinary golf swing and somehow make it look like a deeply personal, romantic message? What makes this moment even more interesting is not just the golf swing itself, but what happened immediately afterward. He didn't simply finish the swing and move on like nothing had happened. Instead, he added that little pointing gesture towards someone. That gesture made everything feel intentional. Almost as if there was someone there who was specifically receiving that little moment of victory. And, of course, fans immediately noticed it in their own way. Who was that for? Why did he point like that? Why did his expression look like someone who had just sent a secret message? Those kinds of questions appeared because body language can sometimes feel much more powerful than words. There was no long sentence, no dramatic confession, and no explanation. Just one golf swing, one direction of his gaze, and one pointing gesture. Yet precisely because it was so simple, fans' imaginations began running wild. They started connecting the gesture with the personality and habits they had noticed from him over time. The golf swing itself also became an important part of the appeal of the moment. His movement looked natural, but there was a certain style to it that made it instantly recognizable. He swung with confidence, and then, almost as if he knew he had pulled it off perfectly, he added that little gesture as a personal celebration. If someone did that after hitting a good golf shot, we might simply consider it a normal expression of excitement. But when he followed it with a slightly mischievous expression and pointed towards someone, the entire mood changed. It suddenly felt less like, "I did it," and more like, "I did it, and you know I did this for you." That is exactly why fans felt like they couldn't handle it. One small gesture can have so many possible interpretations, and the more we replay the moment, the easier it becomes to notice tiny details that might have been missed the first time. The movement of his hand, his posture, his expression after the swing, and even the direction of his finger all seem to fit together perfectly. What really makes people lose their minds is the babe energy behind the gesture. Even if he never actually said the word, the pointing gesture after the golf swing felt like the body language of someone sending a special message to a particular person. Imagine someone doing something cool, then immediately turning towards someone important to them and pointing with a confident expression. Doesn't it almost feel like, "Did you see that? That one was for you"? That is why fans feel as though they are watching a romantic movie scene without any dialogue. There is no need for words because the expression and body language already create their own story. And the longer we look at the moment, the more little details we seem to discover. The way his hand moves, the position of his body, the expression on his face, and the way he points all feel like pieces of one perfectly timed sequence. Of course, we should also remember that interpretations like this come from the fan's perspective. A gesture does not necessarily have the romantic meaning that viewers imagine. Maybe he was simply joking, celebrating a good golf shot, or pointing at someone spontaneously. But that is also where the fun of fandom comes in. Fans enjoy these little moments, pay attention to body language, and discuss possible meanings without necessarily treating their interpretations as facts. We can enjoy a moment because it looks funny, sweet, or adorable without claiming to know exactly what is inside someone's mind. That way, the moment remains something fun to talk about. And in the case of this golf swing, it is difficult to deny that the gesture afterward had an incredibly teasing energy. Even if there was no hidden message at all, the way he did everything was still enough to make fans scream, "Enough!" There is something fascinating about the way people use body language when they feel confident. When someone is comfortable with themselves, even a small gesture can become incredibly expressive. That golf swing showed a playful and relaxed side of him. He didn't seem overly concerned about how other people might judge the movement. In fact, because it looked so effortless, the result became even more charming. Then came the pointing gesture, which almost felt like a spontaneous improvisation that somehow became the best part of the moment. Many of the most memorable fandom moments are not necessarily carefully planned. Sometimes the moments that go viral come from simple, spontaneous actions. Someone smiles, someone turns around, someone makes a tiny gesture, and suddenly millions of people are talking about it. This golf swing has exactly that kind of quality, simple, short, but packed with an energy that is surprisingly powerful. From the perspective of fans who love the chemistry between two people, a gesture like this naturally becomes even more interesting. Especially if the person being pointed at has a friendship or chemistry that already receives a lot of attention. It is no surprise that one tiny movement can immediately become a moment. Fans start remembering other moments with a similar energy. Little glances, unexpected smiles, playful gestures, or the way someone seems to look for a specific person's reaction. All those details can then be put together into a bigger story. However, once again, that story should be understood as a fandom interpretation rather than a confirmed fact about anyone's private relationship. By keeping that distinction clear, we can still enjoy the funny and adorable side of the moment without taking things too far. Because ultimately, what makes it interesting is how one simple gesture can make so many people smile and feel entertained. There is also something incredibly main character about that gesture. He did the golf swing, paused for a moment, and then pointed as if he were the main character who had just won a competition and wanted to make sure someone special saw his victory. The energy was basically, "Yes, I did that." And when the gesture was directed towards someone, it suddenly felt much more personal. It was no longer simply about a small victory. It felt like a victory he wanted to share with someone. Maybe that is why the caption "That one was for you, babe" feels so perfectly suited to the moment. It doesn't mean we know exactly what was going through his mind. It is simply the fandom's way of translating the visual energy they saw. And honestly, sometimes one perfectly chosen caption can make a video feel 10 times funnier. Suddenly, an ordinary golf swing becomes a full-blown rom-com scene inside everyone's imagination. What makes the moment even funnier is the possibility that he might not even realize how dramatic that gesture looked from someone else's perspective. For all we know, it could have been nothing more than a spontaneous movement. But to fans watching, it looked like a scene that already had its own soundtrack. The golf swing was performed with style. Then came that tiny pause. After that, the finger pointed. His expression changed. And that was it. Only a few seconds, yet the effect could last for hours across the fandom timeline. People started making GIFs, short edits, captions, and all kinds of memes. One tiny moment turned into thousands of interpretations. That is the power of fandom culture, the ability to take a simple detail and transform it into something incredibly entertaining. Even the word enough becomes the perfect reaction because nobody is actually asking him to stop. Fans are simply pretending they cannot survive the level of charm and confidence he just displayed. If we pay attention to his expression after the swing, that might actually be one of the most important details. Body movement can look ordinary, but facial expression provides the emotional context that makes everything feel different. There was a satisfied, confident energy, almost as if he wanted to see someone's reaction. When someone does something and then immediately looks toward or gestures at another person, we naturally feel that they want to share the moment. That is what makes the pointing gesture feel so special. Not because we know exactly what it meant, but because the gesture leaves room for interpretation. Fans then fill that space with humor, creativity, and countless captions. That one was for you, babe becomes a kind of fandom translation of the energy they felt. And even though it should not necessarily be taken literally, the caption manages to capture the atmosphere of the moment perfectly. Moments like this also remind us that chemistry doesn't always have to be shown through something huge. Sometimes the most interesting chemist